this one we're going to focus on the soul. So if you get the theme of some of those other talks, or the theme of the camp, obviously the game of life, we're looking at our life as a journey. And in that journey we have physical aspects, or aspects, when I say physical aspects, when we're living in the world, but then also within that, weaved in all of that, we have a spiritual journey. Those physical aspects linking with our spiritual journey, and we'll explore a little bit of that somewhere in the talk as well, how that all interlinks with this. But the key aspect is our spiritual journey. But without the physical journey, the spiritual journey is very difficult. Without the spiritual journey, the physical journey may not have the effects that we want it to. So they come hand in hand. So bringing all those together is going to be the completeness for the game of life as the theme, which you'll get by the end of tomorrow. But you've done some of the key talks, I think, that will link into what I want to kind of share about. So obviously there's a Gurbani Pankti from Sri Guru Amar Das Sahib Ji, as you've read, as you've been coming in. What we're going to do is we're going to reflect on some key aspects. And when we reflect on these, you don't need to wait till the end to ask questions. I kind of like it, and it's better if you ask as we go along, because sometimes you have a question on the slide or on the thing. I don't mind you interrupting at any point and asking questions at any point. In fact, it'll be better, because if we get into a discussion, then we can involve each other and we can get a deeper understanding, rather than just my kind of vichar on what we're going through. Okay, so these are some of the things I'm going to reflect on, and it might be some of the questions that we're going to answer or reflect on or discuss. And obviously it's about the soul. What's the soul? The soul is Vaheguruji's Jodh. Where is that within where is it? Because we're trying to become one with that. That's the meaning of life for us as Sikhs, becoming one with Vaheguru, one with that Jodh. Everybody's got that Jodh. We're going to try and find that Jodh, become one with that Jodh. So we're going to reflect. We need to know where that is before we can try to become one. And if it's somewhere in our bodies, we need to understand our bodies. How are our bodies made up? What are the parts of those bodies? And then how does that link in with finding this Jodh? And then obviously we're creating in this world. This world is Maya. So Maya is not just money. Maya is material, but it's not just material or matter, because some things in this world or some things in our makeup is not matter, and that's still part of Maya. So Maya is anything which is not God. Anything which is not God is Maya. That's why I'm going to use that simple translation for that. And we're going to describe that as an illusion, because it's temporary. So illusion is temporary. When you see the deserts and you see an illusion, and you go there and it's not there. You see that lake in the desert. We see that, we hear about those. So that's why this world is described as an illusion in Gurbani, and Maya is an illusion because it's temporary. So Maya is temporary, and it's anything which is not God. So how does that stop us? How does Maya stop? How do we get blinded by Maya? And then what helps us to realize Vaheguru, to gain that liberation? What are our supports? What can we find support? Where can we find support to help us on that spiritual journey? And then what are the steps in becoming one with God? We hear about Sachkhand. What is Sachkhand? How do we become one with Sachkhand, one with Vaheguru? What are those steps? What are those spiritual journey that we go through? If we've got some time at the end, we'll reflect on some of those. As I said, these slides should be coming out to you anyway. So if you want to make notes, it's up to you, but you don't have to make notes. If you're going to jot some key memory points down, then you can do that as well. Okay, so let's make a start. Manukhi Jeev's human body. Okay, human body. Before I go to the human body, let's just explore some of these things again. Okay, soul. I just want to get the sort of definitions right in a way, because soul, some people believe the soul as being our mind. I was discussing at work over this last week, and we were talking about where is the soul, and I have colleagues from different faiths who I work with, and sometimes we get in these kind of discussions, and so one of them is an atheist, and he was talking about the mind is our soul. I don't really believe in a soul, he was saying, because I don't believe in God, but my mind is like the soul. Okay, the soul is Vaheguru. But over time, people have tried to work out where the soul is, and different faiths and different practices, different belief sets have thought the soul of being different things. So we're going to go on that journey as well and see, we're going to work out where the soul is. So we're Manukhi Jeevs. Manuk means human Jeev form. Jeev is actually the Jodh really inside. So it's the human form, the human Jodh. And that body, this body is made up from 3 layers. Okay, the first layer is called the Karan Sarir. Karan means the cause. Karan means cause, and that's the cause body. The cause body is made up of what we call avidya or Maya. the illusion. And if we think back to Bibi Jasmeen Kaur's talk on the first day, I'm going to make reference to that because she said a few words which I thought about and linked to this and say they might be good ways of helping you understand what I mean. So avidya is like that muddiness. If you think back to that day, I know it's a couple of days ago, she was talking about muddiness, that we're muddied, our soul, our jyot is muddied. And the Karan Sarir is like that first layer of mud around our soul. Now I'm not saying our soul is like a light bulb or a ball and around that we got mud, but sometimes thinking in those terms can help us understand how this fits together, although it's not like that in the abstract. Okay, so but it might help us to understand how it all links. So that's the Karan Sarir. That's avidya is Maya, the non-realization of Vaheguru, the non-understanding because we can't see. Okay, the next Sarir is called the Sukhm Sarir. Now the Sukhm Sarir is the small. Sukha means small, Sarir means body. It's the inner body. Okay, inner body, the middle in between the this Karan Sarir, the next layer, and it's made up of 17 parts. Okay, and we'll discuss those 17 parts. What is the Sukhm Sarir? Sukhm Sarir is like, if I want to sort of expand on that, it's like if we think of ghosts or spirits, we see a ghost, we see a form, and you might put your hand through the ghost. It might look like the person. That's how we think, or how we've been brought up to think of a ghost is. We might not have ever seen a ghost. We might have heard stories, but you know how we've been brought up to think of ghost? That's really the Sukhm Sarir, like the spirit. And in time, some people used to think this is the soul, because some people talk about a spirit as being the soul came out of the body. Yeah, but this is obviously not our soul. This is not Vaheguru's Jyot, and we'll explore that. It's made up of 17 parts. What are those parts we're going to look at? And then this outer body is called Asthul. Asthul means large. It's the large outer body. Okay, and it's made up of the Panch Tat, because Vaheguru created everything with the Panch Tat. Maya is the basic root of Maya is the Panch Tat. Okay, what are the Panch Tats? Have you heard of them before? The 5 Tats are the 5 basic elements that created everything. Okay, and some of these things we mentioned last year, and I've kind of made reference, but I didn't want to go too much because obviously there's people here that were here last year, and then it would have been repeating a lot of those things. So, but very quickly, the Panch Tat are earth, air, fire, water, and ether. Now, ether is like a vacuum element where there's nothingness, like space. Okay, and air is obviously oxygen, carbon dioxide, the makeup of our atmosphere, and maybe ether is like the non-atmosphere, so like we're up in space. And although there's gases in space, ether is like where there's no gas, there's no element. Okay, we call that ether. Ether has also other chemical. The name ether is linked to other chemicals as well, but there's a specific chemical called non-element called ether, and we're going to use that word in here. They're the Panch Tats. Tat means elements. Everything is created from those Panch Tat. Maya is created from those Panch Tat. Okay, and they only remain alive when Vaheguruji's Jyot is within there. So it's like this clicker here, it's got a battery. The battery is the energy source. If I take the battery out, this is dead, it's not going to work. The battery is in, this is alive. So just simple examples. I'm not saying, don't take things literally. Some things that I say, I'm just trying to help us understand. They're not literal senses. So just ask me if you feel if it's confusing when I'm using these examples. So the Jyot is like the energy within inside of us. When the Jyot is taken out, everything is dead. Okay? When the Jyot is in, everything is alive. Because, Hanji?
In Karan Sarir, we refer to as a filth that we have generated over our past lives.
That's exactly what I'm coming to. So I'm going to work on that. That's perfect. He's got where we're going to. So I'm going to work backwards. Asthul Sarir is out of this body. When I die, my Sukhm Sarir comes out of that body. That's why they talk about those things about ghosts and stuff. That comes out. The Asthul Sarir, the large outer body, is dead. That's me laid out. Sukhm Sarir is out. Okay? The Sukhm Sarir hangs around that body because it's attached to this body. So my Sukhm Sarir wants to go back in because it wants to remain alive forever. Nobody wants to die. Everybody wants to live as long as they can live. Sukhm Sarir wants to go back in, but it comes out. Okay? The body is cremated. The Sukhm Sarir moves on. Sukhm Sarir moves on. The Karan Sarir is then judged because that muddiness is what Pai Sahib is saying, and that's what Bibi Jasmeen Kaur was saying, is all the collections of our past karam, which we call paralabd, and we'll go into that more in the Q&A because I know some of you got that question. That's what's come with us. That's the hukam. That's what's come with us. Our past karam that Gurbani talks about that have come with us. That's that muddiness. That's that avidya. And Sukhm Sarir is the spirit, And when this dies, this comes out. Now there's no hard and fast rule that when you're cremated, the Sukhm Sri moves on to be judged. Okay? It can be different for anybody. This is the general kind of case I'm saying. That's why they cremate, or we cremate. One reason why we cremate is because it releases the Sukhm Sri to go and get judged. That's why in cemeteries where they bury bodies, there's a worry of this fear of ghosts and spirits, and people must have seen them in the past to have that fear and worry now. And while a body remains, the Sukhm Sri remains attached. It doesn't mean that they're there forever and ever, but some are there forever and ever. That's why, just going off on a tangent, people who delve and believe in black magic and they want to bring spirits in their power, what they do is they go and they dig up graves and they take bones, they take parts of the body. Because when they take part of the body, the Sukhm Sri of that body, if it's still around, will be attracted to that body or that part of that body. Therefore, they're in control of that spirit, and that's the theory behind black magic, and that's what they do.
In Purathan times, you also used to guard the time when we cremate a person. Like few members would stay there.
And they still do that now. That's for those reasons, because that's people can take the body, they can steal the body, and then they try to use black magic to put the control of that spirit. But obviously we're going to a side, I'm just trying to put the context behind all of that.
We call alcohol spirits in English, and when somebody is intoxicated, another spirit could come and reside there. Is that the Sukhm Sri?
So maybe that's why they call it a spirit, maybe. Maybe that's why maybe that's where that word comes from. Maybe, I don't know.
Like intoxicants, alcohol, sharab, meat, and they attract evil spirits as well.
There's many things that attract evil spirits. I mean, again, I'll go off on a tangent. There was Guru Gobind Singh Sahib Ji Sakhi. I don't know if Bhai Sukhjeevan Singh, you've been on the Anand Karaj one, isn't it? So you could have asked him, and we can maybe delve into this in depth maybe in the Q&A again. But Guru Gobind Singh Ji, they asked Guru Gobind Singh Ji about ghosts and spirits. And Guru Gobind Singh Ji describes when they come, and they brought, I can't remember like the in-depth, I'm trying to get the summary of the Sakhi, and Maharaj calls on the ghost, and they say, when do you lot attack, when do you possess people? And they say, Jadoi paap karde hai. Where do they do paap? When they get married. When people are getting married, meat mood khande hai, sharab pinde hai, everybody cuts their case, some people can lose their senses because they're intoxicated in excitement, in different kind of activity which is not necessarily faith, religion focused, and therefore then they can possess people. So there was a Sakhi behind that at that point. So it's whenever any immoral activity is being committed, bad spirits are attracted to that. Okay? But obviously, I'm not saying there's a hard fast rule that they stay around, okay, forever and ever. But that is one reason why they do that. And that's why Bhai Sahib said that they used to guard the body, and cremation should be done as soon as possible. That's when you're supposed to cremate anyways. These days, obviously, they put bodies in freezers so that it can last longer. But anyway, that's
I have one question. It might not be linked to this, but is there any way, like the Jot or the Sukhm Sri, which is linked? Is there a link between those two?
the Jot of Vaheguru Di Jot.
Is there a thread or something that's
There's a thread. This thread that links to all of them. Jot, because without the Jot, na ehe ne jona ya, na ene jona, na ene jona.
like some people who are like I would mention some people who have past life karmas like bhakti from past life who might just don't know but zone out into sometimes and they just slip out.
Oh, okay, yeah. So people, you don't have to be dead. So I think this is where you don't have to be dead to access this. People who have spiritual shakti, spiritual energy, they can take their Sukhm Sarir and separate their bodies, and they can access their Sukhm Sarir. So they can take that out of their body. Some biographies talk about that. If you read different biographies about spiritual people, they talk about how they take their body out of their body, have out-of-body experiences. They can come out of their body and see their physical body, and then they can visit different places. But even further, they can travel back into this level, because this level is the past actions, so you can see your past lives. To be able to see your past lives, you must have access to this, because this avidya is the collection of your past lives. So spiritual people can see that, and actually we're trying to find our Jot, we're trying to get to our Jot, which is behind, in a way, all of these three. And so obviously if we're traveling spiritually through these three, we're going to access those at any time, and we can use those just like I can use my hand. This is my outer body, I can use it. Yeah? Pick up. Yeah, I'm using it, aren't I? it's part of my body. In the same way, that is part of my body as well. Just we haven't accessed it. Okay? Well, if we could access that, we could use that as well. So let's go on further. So what Astul Sareer? Some people believed to find God in their Astul Sareer, in the pure form of these Panch Tat. So have you heard, some people would have heard of Havans, and they do Agan Havani, and basically they worship the Panch Tat. And the Panch Tat make up our body. And how they make up our body, if I just give you an example. We have something, you might hear the word Pachi Prakirti. So how's 25 linked to 5 tats? What they do is say this is 1 tat, let's just say this is fire. Okay, you take 50% of it. Okay, that's the mukh, that's the main bit. Then the remaining 50% is split into 4 parts, which is 12.5%. Okay, so each tat is split 50% and 12.5% pieces. So with each main one, you take one of these small ones from each of the other 4 to make one complete again. 5 times 5 is 25, and that's how you get Pachi Prakirti. Our bodies are made up like that. So this is how our body's made up. So I'll give you an example. So the earth is used to make our bones. That's the main one. The earth, when the earth is main 50%, it uses to make our bones, and the other 4, water is linked to our flesh, fire to our arteries, air to skin, and ether to our hair. Okay, now ether is that non-element, but in ether sound travels through ether. And so there's a vichar that Guru Sikh say, that's why we don't cut our case, because the case can carry the sound current of Waheguru, Naam, Gur Shabad, and it can connect us with Waheguru. So that in a way, maybe that's why the ether is linked to our hair. But it's not just physical aspects of our body. Okay, the heat in our stomach is fire. Okay, so it's all the functions of our body as well. Okay, not just our body, it's our functions of our body. For example, the energy to run is given by when air is the most dominant, that's the 50%, that's energy to run. The other 4, earth is energy to go small. So we crouch down, we start shrinking. Some people lose the size when we're growing, because obviously our body, when we get given our body, we're babies, we're at this size, and then we go up to 6 foot on average, let's say. So when God creates us, He's got to give us enough tat to be able to grow as well, to be able to do action. Fire is used in our energy to leap and jump, and ether's energy to spread. Okay, so those panch tat not only make up our bodies, they make up the functions of our bodies throughout our lives. And like I talked about, so there's some of the examples. So while I'm talking, you can just have a look at those, how our bodies, how our Astul Sareer, our large outer body is made up. Now, what I was going to say is, people believed that the Jod is found in the Panch Tat, so they do Agan Havani. Agan Havani is fire, and they worship fire. They throw butter, different scents into the fire, and they worship fire. Some people worship water, they do similar things with water. Some people worship the air, and how they worship the air is they face in the opposite direction. If the wind is blowing this way, they face that way, and then they do toof and worship as the air is blowing into them. So people have thought that the Jod can be realized, Waheguru's Jod can be realized through the Panch Tat, and they spent many, many years trying to do this. But the Jod that Guru Nanak Dev Ji is given, the path that we've been given, we won't find God, Waheguru, through them specific parts. They're within us, but we won't if we focused on one of those. So we have to spiritually move, and we move through, and we move to our Sukhm Sareer. Now our Sukhm Sareer, like I said, is made up of 17 parts. What are those parts? Now in English translations, when we see Gurbani and we say man, we generally translate that to be our mind, don't we? Yeah? But our mind is actually made up of 4 parts. There are 4 functions to our mind. And Gurbani talks about those 4 functions. One of those functions is actually called the man, which we translate to being the mind, but when I say mind, I'm going to use the word wider mind. Okay? That's the complete mind with the 4 functions. In that you have the man. That's our thought process. Okay? What does that mean? I'll give you an example. Let's all close our eyes. Okay, everybody close your eyes. When I tell you to start, I'm going to count to 10 and then say stop. What I want you to do is in those 10 seconds, I want you to count. So separate yourself from your man when I say start. And then in those 10 seconds, I want you to count the amount of times a thought comes into your man. Yep. Anything, random, whatever comes in, just to make a mental note of how many times. So everybody close your eyes, because it's easy to do this when you close your eyes. And let's start. Okay, let's stop. Anybody want to volunteer how many thoughts came into their man? Yep. One? 5? 6? Yeah, no, that's fine. Yep. 6. Anybody else? 5? 4? Yeah. I mean, most groups I've done that with. That's right. Now, some people might think only 1 came into their mind. That might be maybe much better than us. I had like 7. But our mind also works. When we get a thought, sometimes thoughts travel through, and sometimes we dwell on a thought. So having 1 doesn't necessarily mean we're better than the person with 7, because as you did that, you might have dwelled or pondered on that thought. Therefore, only 1 stayed.
And that thought be depending on your circumstances in life, right? So you've got your job, you've got your kids, maybe football, your 3 things in mind, how you're going to,
That's right. And England won last night, so you'd be quite happy there.
From 2-0 down.
Yeah. See, he knows everything. Yeah, that depends on anything linked. Not just, I mean, we think in just in this life. Ultimately, it's dependent on all our lives, because all our lives is all our experience. We haven't accessed those yet. We have access of here and now, this life, this world. But it could access anything. Okay? Our mindset are already influenced by our pishle karam. So we're already being influenced by those thought processes, and our experiences and interactions. That's what decides that. Because sometimes in your mind or your man, because again, mind, I don't want to use the word mind, because mind is not the man. Mind is the wider sense, 4 parts of it, where man is 1 part of it. In our man, something might come from the past, but also we might have a thought that's coming into something that's about to happen. Okay? A second part of the mind, or the wider mind, is our buddhi. And our buddhi is our intellect, our decision-making aspect. So like Bibi Jasbeen Kaur again that day, and we would look at, she was explored Bachittar Natak. Kabud was a word she used from Bachittar Natak. Guru Gobind Singh Ji is coming to destroy Kabud. Kabud is khoti buddh, is negative intellect, wrong decisions. Maharaj is coming to destroy the wrong decisions to make positive decisions. So another part of our mind is our buddhi. And that makes a decision. Okay, and we'll explore these later on when I actually focus on the mind itself. But in this instant, only 2 parts of the mind make up the Sukhm Sarir, the man and the buddh. Another 5 are called the Gyan Okay, so that's 7 so far. 2 man, buddh, 5 Gyan Gyan means knowledge. Indre means senses. Senses that give us knowledge. Which are our senses that give us knowledge? They're our ears, our skin, ears to hear, skin to feel, eyes to see, tongue to taste, nose to smell. Yep. So they're like the senses that we have always grown up hearing about at school. Yeah. We've got 5 senses. They're actually called the Gyan Indre. Okay. And they're the 5 senses. So Sukhm Sarir has those senses. So if you're in that spirit form, you can still smell, you can still see, you can still taste. Even though you're like a spirit and you're not physical, so if, let's say if there was somebody here, you could put your hand through them, because they've got not the physical aspect of the Panch Tat, they've got the smaller aspect, so they're a spirit, but they still can action like this. They also have Panch Karam Indre. So we, in our theory, in our philosophy, we don't just limit ourselves to 5 senses. We have 10 senses. 5 of those are to give knowledge, and 5 of them are to do action. Karam, action, Indre, senses. 5 action senses. And our mouth, our hands, even though there's 2 hands, but they counted as 1, and 2 feet counted as 2. Our front and back, and you'll understand, you can see there what I mean by them. Okay, they're our action senses. Most of our functional actions are done, or all of our functional actions are done through them. So even though you might think we've just had some refreshments, and our stomach will be churning now, and it'll be, the food will be working in there. But the stomach wouldn't have been able to do that action if we wouldn't have used our mouth to put that food in. Do you see what I mean? So the mouth is the key. The stomach is working, but the mouth was the action sense to allow the rest of our body to work as such. Okay, so that's 10 and 11, 12. Now those, like I've just said, are linked to the Panch Tat and the 5 Vishay. They're called smaller elements that the world was created with. And ether links to sound, and linked to our eyes. Air is linked to touch, linked to our skin. Fire linked to form meaning sarup, which links to our eyes because we see forms. Water is linked to taste, which we do with our tongue. And earth is linked to odor, which we do and smell with our nose. Okay, so they're still linked to the Panch Tat, but not the physical aspect of the Panch Tat. That's why I say you could put your hand through, a Sukham Srir, yeah, because it's not a physical aspect. And the final 5 of those are called Panj Pran. Pran are the life energies of a person. Now, some people describe them as breath, air, because we need air to live, okay? But there's actually 5 differences within them. There's 5 different types of pran energies. It's like in Punjabi, pran nikal gaye. I don't know if some of you heard that. Pran nikal gaye means that person's died, the energy's gone, life energy's gone, and the person's passed away. So pran, one of those is called pran, that is in our hirda. Now hirda, when we translate hirda, does anybody know what they usually translate hirda for in Gurmukhi? No, hirda generally translates to heart. That's what we see the translation. But hirda is actually not our heart. So in the old days, just like that mind, when they were doing translations of Gurbani, they may not have been the intellect of certain words, and you're new to English and you're trying to find words that match. So they use the best words as possible. So hirda in Gurbani, if you see the translation on the screen, it'll say heart, but it doesn't mean heart. And I'll come on to that a little bit later and actually show you what the hirda is. Okay, so the pran vases in the hirda, it resides in the hirda. Similarly with man, like I said, they just translate that to mind, but man is just the thought process. Buddhi is part of the wider mind, which is intellect, and there's 2 others as well. Apan, back to here, is in our neck, gala. Saman is in our nabhi, our belly button area. Udyan is in our kant, our throat, and Bayan is throughout our whole body. Sare shariri de vich. So they're the Panj Pran. Panj Pran, Panj Karamindre, Panj Gyanindre, 5, 10, 15, man and bodh, that makes 17. 17 elements put together, that makes our Sukham Srir, that makes that spirit. Some people call that the soul, but this is not our soul, this is not Waheguru's Jyot. This is just that spirit, it's part of our body, it's a different form, it's the spirit form of our body. Hanji.
I just wanted to know the difference between Gala and Udyan and Apan, because that's similarly the neck area.
It's similarly the neck area, but the throat is the inside, the kant is the inside of it, and the gala is the whole aspect of it. Yeah, because in our kant, through our kant we recite Bani, and but the Bani doesn't come through the whole of our neck area. So it's just that passageway, and then there's an inner passageway which we call the kant is just here.
There's a puncti that comes this eye, this kant line.
Kant is here.
Okay, this.
So you kant la, ithe kant na lag gaya.
Okay.
You know when you talk,
Yeah.
put your finger here. Put your finger here, you start choking yourself, huh? So that's the difference, but then the neck is the whole of this. So that's the slight difference.
In Ayurveda, we teach that Apan is eliminating energy, so it's both in, for example, vomiting, but also in eliminating.
Yep. So
it's an energy that actually travels through more of the body. It's also
but that's where when it's created, these travel, but it changes. This travels, but its root form is here, because you've just said it comes out as vomiting and it comes in. So where is it going through?
No, in Ayurveda we say Apan is here, but also in your eliminated organs down the
These travel all over. These travel all over.
We call those the home.
Yeah. But the root home is there. Okay, so the root home is there, and the Bayan is, there's different schools of thought, so I'm not going to argue with that. It probably could be there, but these are the roots of where they are kept. But like you say, there's another home for it, and that could be the case. From my research, Bayan is the one that travels throughout the Srir, and these interlink with each other. These interlink with each other because they are all the pran, but there's 5 different versions of them. So that makes up our Sukham Srir. And then obviously we have our Karan Srir, which is the avidya aspect. Okay. And again, I've mentioned that already. That's the non-realized. That's our Pishle Karam have attached around there. And so maybe when we're going to be judged, those Karam, that's what's brought forward and back and forth. And that's how that works. I can't completely tell you how that all works because I can't remember what happened when I went, and if any of you guys can remember before we came to this world, you might be able to share that. This is what Gurbani talks about, but it's not, for every person, it may not follow exactly the same path, but it's along those lines that we'll be judged from our positives, our negatives. Each and every breath we take, we'll be judged on those, and then we'll move on. Gurmukhs, those who are one with God, don't have to go through that. We surpass those things. Okay, but again, that's another theory. That's another couple of hours to investigate all of that and how that's linked to our karam. So that specifically is not necessary. Specifically, that's what happens. You get judged on your breaths that we've taken, positive and negative actions. They are judged, they are balanced out, and then we move on accordingly. Very simply, our Jyot. I should have really changed that sentence. I've written there. The Jyot resides here. The Jyot is doesn't mean that Karan, what I mean there is that Karan Sarir isn't the Jyot. It's past there. It's within there that you will find the Jyot. That's what I mean by that. I don't want you to get confused when you reread these to think, I said that this was the Jyot. The Jyot resides here in the cells. Beyond that point is the Jyot. Those 3 layers of our body are not our Jyot. Okay? Through Naam, we realize the Jyot. Reciting of Shabad, the sound. Sound is the medium to get us to God. Okay? I'm physical. Yep. Vaheguru is Nirgun. We have a Sargun form, but Vaheguru is Nirgun, formless. I can't see him with these eyes because this is for this Maya eyes. I can't access Vaheguru just with this physical form. I need a medium to carry me to Nirgun. So if we think that God is there, obviously God isn't in that sense, it's not a linear thing, but just to help us think and understand this, if God is there and we are starting here, I need a medium to get me from here to here, don't I? Okay? Sound is the only current that connects through there. What sound connects through there is Naam, that sound, not just any name. Naam is given to us physically through sound. The sound current, just like an electrical current just constantly flows, that sound constantly is flowing. And what we're trying to do is piggyback on that current and travel along all the way until we become one with God. Now, there's been different Naam and names of Vaheguru throughout time. And some of those will move us along. But they will not let us go too far. We'll be hanging around here. Okay? We want to piggyback on Naam that is going to go all the way there. Okay? There are other faiths and practices out there that give Naam, that even link to or they say they're linked to us, but they're nothing to do with us. Radha Swamis, Narakatariye, they will give Naam, okay, a name of God. They are kind of say they're linked to Sikhs. There's other religions that give a type of Naam. Even Christianity, if you research Judaism, they'll have Naam in there somewhere. Okay? Now, if it's just about Naam, then we could get Naam anywhere, couldn't we? Like the Narakatariye say, like the Radha Swami say, why do we need to keep hair? Why do we need to wear kirpan? Amrit ka to shakana. What's the point of that? If it's just about Naam, it's just sound current. Asi jede marji te piggyback on any one of those, and off we'll go. We're going to explore later on what our Guru does for us, why we need to go through those steps to here. First of all, in any case, you need to submit yourself to get Naam. Submit yourself to a Guru who is going to give you Naam. Whether that's Radha Swami Guru, Narakatariya Guru, whether that's anybody else, Pakhandi Gurus, like they, or Pura Guru. Back to the first day, or yesterday, Hukamnama, Gur Pura Charni Laya. Gur Pura, complete Guru. If he's going to put us, he's going to take us in his charan, he's going to allow us to piggyback on him so we can get to the end. So the key here is we need to find that Naam that is the current, that is a complete current all the way through, not one that's going to hang around here. Okay? Not one that's going to hang around here. But we must also conquer the following. We must conquer our mind. Okay? Our mind. What is our mind? I've already mentioned 2 things, our man and our bud. Yep. Also in our mind is our chit. Our chit is our memory function. I'm trying to keep simple words to try and help us understand. So thought process, decision making, previous experience, memory. Okay? And also in our mind is our hankar, our ego. Now we have ego. When I speak with ego, I do ego. But this is like root ego, okay? Where it's just about me, myself, I. Okay, now I'm going to put you through a scenario of me. Okay, I'm going to put you through a scenario to help us understand this. This is our mind. Okay, so in Gurbani, when it says man, it means just this aspect. Bodh, it means this. Chet, it means this. Hankar, it means this. Mind together is all of these. Okay, mind together is all of these. However, in Gurbani, sometimes because there's no hard and fast rule, sometimes Gurbani uses Atam. Now, Atam sounds like soul, Atma. But Atam sometimes translates to man. Okay? Atam Jineh, Sagalavastaka, Jaka Sataguru Pura. That's a Gurbani Pangati. Atam Jineh, to win over our soul, defeat our soul. We can't defeat the soul because the soul is God, is Vaheguru's Jyot. But so in that Pangati, Atam translates to man. So sometimes, I'm just giving you a warning, sometimes these words are used to mean something different. and they interact, but on the pure and general sense, this words mean this, and they make the mind. They are also, you know when I said the word hirda, this is our hirda. So where we have the pankti, hirda naam vasaye ho, kar baithe guru te aaye ho. That means in your hirda, naam vasalo. Kar baithe, our house, our body, our temple, our home, otthe guru vasalo, otthe naam japlo, right? Hirda, in the translation, when you look at that, will say heart. So I was already pointing here, because naturally, my brain has been trained to think that this is where my hirda is, but this is where my heart is, but this is not where my hirda is. Now, I think Benji, who does yoga, she'll know about the chakras, I'm sure, and there's a hirda chakra, and that's around here. The hirda chakra, no?
We call hirda the chest, and the heart chakra is
Anahata chakra, yeah. So hirda is a chest, so that's why I'm pointing, yeah. So the whole of this?
The heart.
Okay. So some people think this is here. Personally, I don't know where that is. Nobody knows where that is. You can't cut up on my body and find that. You won't.
Doesn't the mind pervade the whole body? Because mind
This is the mind.
Yeah, I mean.
Yeah. It pervades the whole body. That's what I mean. So we can't cut this open and find these things. You can cut me open and find my heart. You can find my brain. You can't find this. Some people even think that this is in our brain. They think we keep our memories in our brains. Now, there was a science experiment just under 100 years ago, and as you guys know, that they test on animals. And what they did is they set up a maze on top of a work surface like this, okay? And there was a maze inside of here, and they dropped some mice in it. And the mice, in trial and error, worked its way around the maze, went into a few dead ends, and worked its way from the entrance all the way to the exit. They put the mice in a few times. After it went in a few times, those mice, they kind of knew the direction, they just went straight out. They memorized it. Yeah? They were testing where the memory is. Then what they did, they put lesions on the brains. So in other words, they gave damage some of bits of the brain of those mice to test which bit where the memory would be. They put those mice in again. One part of the brain damaged, 2 parts, 3 parts. They did experimented. Those mice still went all the way through. So if they still went all the way through and the brain is partly damaged, then those parts of the brain couldn't hold the memory. So the memory must have been somewhere else. So our brain actually holds information, yes, but this function, as Benji here is saying, pervades the whole of our body. You cannot find these anywhere. You won't be able to split each other open and find these. They're on a different level. They're not physical in that sense. They're a different type of, they're different type. And these are our hirda. This is our mind. So how do they work? And like we said, this is when Maharaj goes mana jeeta jag jeet. So in that sense, Maharaj might be talking about all of these, not just this bit. Yeah. So different times in Gurbani, the word man might mean all of these. The man might just mean this, but in the purest sense, this is what each of those words mean. So how does that work? Okay, I'll give you an example for myself, and then we'll give you 10 seconds and just practice that with your eyes closed, and you can think of an example of yourself, just to help you understand how this works. Okay, so yesterday, I had breakfast just like we had this morning. I had breakfast, I spoke to Tarjinder Singh, and I said, what are we having for lunch? And he said, kadi chawal. And I said to him, I thought we have, because if you might pick this up, that in the lunch times we're going to have the English type of food. In the 5 shamda prasada, we're going to have traditional, simple Punjabi type food. Yeah, so it's lighter, hopefully, so we can wake up earlier. Okay. And I said, I thought it's that way around. And he says, no, because pizzas we're going to make them. We're going to make it this today. It's yesterday. Pizzas is later because it's going to take us longer to make. And we're going to do the kadi chawal in the afternoon. Okay, so I come to my workshop in my room where I was yesterday. And just like you guys said, things come into our mind just like this, don't they? Every so often. And while I've been talking, things have been coming into I'm pointing here, but my mind obviously isn't here, but we've been trained to think it's here. So I'm pointing here, but you'll understand what I mean. Things have been coming into my mind just like they've been coming into yours. Random things have been coming in all of our minds, because we, at the moment, some of us may not be strong in controlling our minds or working with our minds. Okay, so I come up here, and in my man comes pizzas. And while I'm talking to everybody yesterday, and in my man, when the pizzas came in, my man went, I started pondering and dwelling on that thought. So my next man went further, and it said, Sukhraj, you don't like pizzas without mirch. You need to have some mirch on your pizzas. That thought came from my chit, because my previous experience told me, because I've eaten pizzas before, it wasn't the first time I'm trying them, and I know from my previous experience that I need more mirch on my pizzas. So, Sukhraj, you need mirch on your pizzas. That information went to my buddhi, and my buddhi was saying, Sukhraj, you have to make a decision, because you might get given a pizza without mirch. If you try it, you're going to make it jutta. Who's going to eat it? So you need to go to Tarjinder Singh and tell him, you make me a pizza with mirch on it, and you give it to me specially, because that's the only one I'm going to eat. And I'm dwelling on this thought, using information from my memory, making decisions using my buddhi, but overarching all of those, it was all about me and nobody else. And it was all about, I want this and I want that, and it has to be right for me. And so informing all of this was my ego. That's how our mind works. Now I'm going to give you 10 seconds. Whatever thought comes into your mind first, but you might not do it now, but you can understand that. That's how our mind works, and it's working like that constantly. Random thoughts come in. Sometimes they pass. Sometimes they don't pass, and we ponder on them. When we start pondering on them, these kick into action, and everything works through our ego, our chit, our buddh. And when Maharaj goes, Hirday naam vasayo kar baithe guru tarayo, mana jeeta hai jagdi. Maharaj is saying we've got to conquer these. If we want to find our soul, because some people thought the man was the soul, but it's not. Some people thought buddhi was the soul. It wasn't. The memory, past experience, and that's not just experience in this life, because our mindset is set up, as Baisa was saying, not only in this life, it's set up from previous lives, and over all of that, overarching all of that, is our ego. Maharaj goes, Homme dirag rog hai, daru pi is mahe. Homme dirag rog. That's the worst disease is ego. That's why it is, because that overarches everything to find God.
So not Mahapurush have conquered the ego. Do they not use any of the man or the
Living in this world, everybody uses their man, bodhi, chit, because we're physical. Okay? So even Mahapurush use that, even those who are one with God use that. However, when they make a decision, that decision is informed by Akal Purkh, not their own necessary. Their memory is Akal Purkh's memory, because they're one with God. Their ego is Vaheguru. So it is that function in the body being used, however, it's being informed, and we're going to explore that ourselves, because we want to change this to not us making those decisions, we want to make those decisions. So I'm going to go on to that point now. I was going to do it later, but I'll go on to it a little bit now, and then I'll go to Pai Sahib. Guruji asks us, so we're Sikhs, yeah? And Sikhs, you've been to Amrit talk, we have to take Amrit in our lives. We're not going to get to that end. We're not going to follow that sound current. Otherwise, we could just jump on any naam and off we go. Okay, why does Guruji? So Guruji, from Guru Nanak Dev Ji, Charnamrit, they gave us, I'm going to delve into that a little bit. Indrajit Singh might have said these things already. So they give us Charnamrit, they give us naam, off you go. But every time, through every Guru, they gave us discipline as well. Naam japna, vand ki shakna, kirt karni. Guru Nanak Dev Ji's teachings encompass those three things. And over time, it all brought together to the Khalsa Panth, as Kuljit Singh was saying last night. And they gave us a rayat, a discipline to follow. Okay, so what's one of those rayat? If you're Amritar, you've got to wear these all the time. I've got to wear this when I sleep. I've got to wear this when I'm in the bath. I can't take it off. So when I'm in the bath, I'll tie it on my head. When I want to do Kesi Shnan, I'll tie it around my waist. I can't take it off. I was told that when I was younger, when I'm asking these questions, why do I need to wear that in the bath? And they said to me, somebody might attack you, you could pull it out, and you've got to be tiyar par tiyar. So let's say this is my shower over here. I probably can't go that far because of the mic now. So let's say this is my shower then. I'm stood under here, okay? And I hang this up. And I said to the person, I could hang this up here. If it's tied on my head, it's in a knot, it's going to take me forever getting it out. Anyway, it might fall out. I've got shampoo in my eyes. At least here I go up, out, ready. Why can't I just hang it up there? Then Guruji gives me a kashera to wear. And he says to me that I've got to take one leg off first, put one leg on, take the other leg off, put the other leg on. That can be a bit, in the shower, everything's wet, it could be kind of difficult in the mornings. Why can't I just take them off, put the new one, and why are we doing that? Why are we doing that, do you think? Why do you think we're doing that? So I asked this Singh, and he gave me this example. But I'm asking you guys, why do you think they tell us to do those things? Because if we live in this Western world or in any kind of world, if I think logic, if my buddhi is at work, my buddhi is at work, my buddhi is telling me that's a waste of time keeping it on. My buddhi is telling me there's nothing wrong with taking both legs off the kashera, putting them on. What's that going to cause? Why do you think he tells us that? Sorry? Help with discipline. Because discipline helps with our willpower. It helps us with our man. I want you to hold that thought, what I've just given you that example. Okay, and we're going to come back to that again and hopefully answer that question as well. So hold that example, what I've just shared with you. In a couple of slides time, we're going to come back to that exact example. And hopefully then we'll understand why we have been given this discipline. Okay, so we have to defeat this. And what stops us from defeating that is Maya. And Maya has panj kosh, panj parde, 5 veils, sheaths, curtains, okay, that blind us from everything. Okay, the first one is called Annamay Kosh. Annamay Kosh, Anna means food, Annamay Kosh, Kosh means the parda, and that is the want to eat to stay alive. So that was me with the pizzas. I was being blinded by this sheath of Maya because I was interested in that mirch because it was sawad, it wanted me, it was exciting me. That was blinding me. That's a veil of Maya. Okay, Annamay Kosh. The next one is called Pranamay Kosh. Okay, Pranamay Kosh linked to the prans. That's those life energies and the want to stay alive and never die. And doing everything to make sure I get sustenance so I'm always alive. Okay? These are kind of physical kind of aspects of our body. Because we want food. We want food sometimes to look good because we want the right type of food. We look big, strong. We want to make ourselves looking good. You know, decorate ourselves. This is Maya blinding us from what we actually looking within. Okay? Then we have Manamay Kosh, because sometimes it's our mind playing tricks, our man part of our thought process of our mind. And them and our karamindre, because my man says to me, thought comes in, somebody's doing, I can hear, you know, my ears have woken up, my ears hear somebody doing Nindya Chugli over here, it gets brought into my man, that thought comes into my man, Utte ja, go listen to it. I'm excited by that. I want to then take part in it. My man says, speak, be involved in it. I see something dodgy going on over there, my eyes want to see this. I'm walking over there, my karamindre are taking me over there. So my hands, feet, front, back, mouth are taking me to these places and I'm partaking in those actions. That is Maya. Manamay Kosh is where we're getting. That's that side of that veil of Maya that is working towards us. Then we have Vagyanamay Kosh, because sometimes it's further than that. It's our buddhi that's dealing with it. And my buddhi is telling me, because I read a lot of books about Sikhi, and I'm using my own buddhi, because those books on Sikhi says that Guru Gobind Singh Ji didn't take the heads of the Panch Pyare. Goats were taken. And my buddhi is saying to me, yeah, how can a person take somebody's head off and bring them back to life? My buddhi is saying that the book must be right. So sometimes I'm led astray from the true teachings of Guruji because my buddhi is overtaking me, and that's the Vagyanamay Kosh, that's the parda, that's the sheath of Maya that is blinding me to the truth and Vaheguru. And that's my knowledge senses are the ones, my senses are informing my buddhi for that. And then we have something called Anandamay Kosh. Now Ananda seems that's bliss, that's joy. So how can that be part of Maya? Because in there is when we have that spiritual energy, spiritual Shakti through our Hankar, because it's all about I, it's all about me. So we haven't defeated that. So those 5 are the forms of Maya that can hold us back from realizing Vaheguru. We're trying to conquer our wider mind, Man Jeeta Jagjeet. We're trying to conquer our wider mind, Mana Bodh Chit Hankar, and we have these that are blinding us. So then we need support. We need support from our Guru. So we get support from our Guru because our Guru is going to help us develop willpower and defeat our mind. But then on a spiritual, because I don't want to delve into that too much, because that's not what my remit is for the talk. I want to just keep it on a spiritual progression. What can help us on a spiritual progression? We have what we call Char Sadhan. Okay, 4 supports that help us. Okay, through that. The first one is called Bibek. Bibek has meanings to all of us in different senses, but literally bib means two, ek means one. From two we have one. The realization that there's only one Waheguru. There is only one. There's no other. There's no Satan with the same power as God who's going to fight God and defeat God, because he's got just as much power as God. There's no Satan. There is Panchchor, there's Vishwavikar, there's Kaljug, but they're no match to Guru Nanak Dev Ji Akal Purkh Waheguru. No match at all. So there is only one Almighty. Me, Sukhraj, I'm just a mere mortal. I'm no match to Waheguru. Society is no match. It's the realization that there is only one Supreme, and that is Waheguru. And working alongside that is Bairag or Vairag. These can be spelt with V's or B's depending on wherever you read these. They can be with V's or B's. So I put one with a B, one with a V, but they can interchange. Bairag. What does Bairag mean? It's Bairag. Rag means love, bear, without love. Without love for any Maya, and only having love for one Waheguru. So these work together quite well, because if you know there's one Waheguru, then you only love that one Waheguru. So I don't love myself necessarily in the sense that it's me. I'm not going to be attached to these materialistic things. I'm not going to love and follow society. I'm going to love only one Waheguru, who I know is the Almighty. And the kind of mindset we need in that Bairag is like this. So Bairag can be split. There's different types of Bairag. But I'm going to give you a way to split up in three ways, because it just helps us understand that a little bit better. The first type of, like, we all get some sort of Bairag in our lives, where we fall at Guruji's feet, or whether we sat at home and in our minds we're thinking, Maharaj, please save us, I'm all yours, I'm going to do everything I want, I'm going to become the best Guru, you're going to save me, take away everything, give me this chance. We fall, we beg for stuff. We all have that moment with God, with our Maker. Whether it's in a Gurdwara, whether it's at home, we all have those times. And that is a type of Bairag, because we're losing love for everything else, and we're giving ourselves to Waheguru and saying, Waheguru, tu sab kuch hai, do this for me. Okay? But there's different types of Bairag. How long do they last? One type of Bairag is called Gada Bairag. A Gada is a donkey. Now, if you type a donkey and you let the donkey loose in its field, the donkey will go and graze. By the end of the day, the donkey, Gadaya, one mudke utthe hona. It'll come back, because it'll know that's my master. So I'll give you that example. We are attached to this world society. Because we're in Maya. I'm tied up. And I might get so blessed that I get some Bairag, I release myself from it. And I release myself from the world. But because I'm like a donkey, मैं गुरुद्वारे च बैठे भी होना, पाठ भी करी जाना, fixed, Bairag भी आ गया, but in an instant, one of that thing that's going to come into my mind, it's going to take me back. 1 minute, a split second ago, I was in so much pure love with Waheguru, and with one thought coming into my mind, like a donkey, I'm tied up again. That's what we call Gada Bairag. Now, we all have experienced that. So we need to work in a way to lose that. That when things come in our mind, we let them go, so we're not pulled back and tied up again. The next level is called Koda Bairag, like a horse. If a horse is tied up, you let the horse loose. The horse won't come back itself. But you will go to the horse and you will bring the horse back and tie the horse back up. So sometimes we have Koda Bairag, where we give up everything and we join ourselves with Waheguru. Then we get a phone call from a friend. We get our kids crying at us. We get our parents saying this, and we get a husband or wife saying something to us, or our friends, work colleagues, anything. And in an instant, we forget Waheguru again. Where's that pure love? It vanishes. We thought we had pure love is gone, we're tied back up again. So even a Koda can be brought back very easily. So we don't even want that type of Bairag. The type of Bairag we want is called Sher Bairag. And Sher Bairag is forget tying up a tiger. If you have a caged tiger and you open the cage of the tiger is not coming back. Either the tiger dies or you die trying to get that tiger back. It's very simple. And you'll have seen those examples in India. There was a tiger let loose. They had to kill the tiger because the tiger's not coming back. One or the other. That's the type of pure love we must develop. We must develop that kind of love for Waheguru, that if we get the opportunity to break free, that all these entanglements and attachments of the world do not bring us back. We need to be like a tiger. O maruga, dunya to marange, ja apa aap marange. Tahi shahidiyaan paunde a. That's where the shahidi aspect comes from. Because they have given up that love for the world, so they don't care. They're not going to be dragged back. They will give their own life because they realize that immortalness and their eternal link to Waheguru, that this body is only temporary, and let the body go. The Jyot is what they want, and they've already found the Jyot, so they have become Bairagis like a sher. They never get tied up again. Okay, then the third one of those is called Khat Samti. Khat Samti has 6 aspects. Okay, Khat Samti has 6 aspects. I'm smiling now because Singh over there is looking at somebody else trying to project, looking at them, but he probably has that type of Gada Barag himself, and gets pulled himself now and then. So I'm not going to say that because we're being recorded. I don't want to embarrass him over there while he's trying to embarrass somebody else. But the next one is Khat Samti, Char Sadhan. Okay, the third one is called Khat Samti. And they are split up into Khat means 6, Samti means treasure. So this third one has 6 aspects to it. Okay, so I'm coming back to that point that we had in the question. I'm going to come back to this in a few seconds. The first one of those is called Sam. Manadi Vashana Rokani, to control our mind's thoughts. So when a mind comes in, somebody in the last workshop gave me a good way of explaining that. I was talking about clouds and he had even a better example. And just like a cloud, if you look out there, we look at the clouds. I looked up there and saw the clouds. Clouds, our mind's thoughts are like clouds. They come in, but we have to practice our mind so they move along. And he gave even a better example. He said like a flowing river. If you have a flowing river, the river keeps flowing. You don't have to jump in the river, do you? You can watch it flow. So just like things come into our mind, we can't stop those things coming in our mind. Because those things that come into our mind, as Bhai Sahib said, are our experiences. We live in this world. We're going to have things come in our mind. What we're doing tomorrow at work, what do I've got to do? Those things are going to come. But when we're in that instant of true Bairag, pure love, when we're in that instant of reciting Naam, then we can't affect any of those things at that point, can we? When we're reciting that, we can't affect them, can we? So we have to, like a stream, let them go. Don't jump in and dwell on them or ponder on them. Let them go, because in that instant, you will not be able to change or do anything about them. Unless you get up and then you Gada Bairag again, off you go again.
Is that something related to then the car, obviously when we're having a shower, things like that, to keep our mind more focused?
So, exactly. So, just hold that thought again. Hold that thought. The next one is Dam Karna. So, that's Vishay Valno Indriyanu Rokana. What that means is, our Indriyan are our senses, Gyan, knowledge senses, action senses, Vishay, Vikar, Panch, Chor, Kam, Krodh, Lobh, Ahankar, stop them from doing those acts. So if I do hear somebody doing Chugli, I stop myself from going there. Because if I go there, if I'm doing that Simran, if I'm attached to Waheguru, and then I, later on in the day, hear something and I go there, I might have taken one step forward by being able to sit and concentrate. Then by going there and partaking in that immoral activity, I'm taking 3 steps back. So what was the point of going there? Ovi Gita Karaya Khech Pata, in other words, I did all that bhakti and it's all got wasted. So you have to learn to stop yourselves from committing sin or going to doing immoral activity, whatever that is. Yeah, I don't need to list all those. We know what's right and we know what's wrong. If we think deep down in if we have a contemplation, we know what's right and we know what's wrong. Okay, we don't need to explore that. The third one is Shraddha, having complete Shraddha in our Guru, in Akal Purkh Waheguru. What does complete Shraddha mean? Because I'm sure we've all got Shraddha and faith in Waheguru. That's why we're here. We must have some sort of faith. What's complete faith? Complete faith, and now I know some people, because they tell me, they say, Sukhraj Singh, we look up to you, we'll do whatever you say. And I laugh at them sometimes. I say, you won't do everything I say. And they go, we will. I go and climb on the building and jump off. Will you do that? No, they won't. So you haven't got complete faith in me. So why create false faith in me? I'm a human. I'm nobody. Develop your faith in one Waheguru Guruji. Don't develop it in any person. Shraddha means complete faith, submission. So the Panch Pyare had complete faith, because when Guruji said, Minu sir chaida, they stood up, they had complete faith. They didn't question. Complete faith is whatever Guruji tells you, you do it without question. No, sorry, this might sound offensive, including myself. I bet there's nobody in here, high percentage, there is nobody in here, I'll be wrong, maafi mangada if there is, that does everything that Guruji says, including myself. We don't, because we're humans, we're living in, we live in the world, we're caught up in this just like everybody else. Doesn't matter if I look like this or somebody else looks something different, we're all the same. Every one of us is the same. We're all caught up. But we have to try and build, because that's very difficult. But we have to build ourselves to have more faith day by day, by doing more and more, and develop so we can have complete faith. Okay? Then we have Samadhan. Samadhan means to have complete focus in meditation of Naam. Now, you might read some of these things in different places, but we are applying these to Gursikhi. So Naam meditation, which is the focus on Gurbani, Guru Shabd. Okay, samadhan, complete focus. So that river's flowing in. We're concentrating on Vaheguru, 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 however that's happening inside as we're focusing. A thought comes in because we can't stop the thought. Let it come, let it flow out. Don't dwell on the thought. Focus on the Shabad, on the sound. Because as we focus on the sound of Naam, we're traveling on the sound current. As soon as we come off the sound focus, then we're back into the water and we're going to be taken along the stream backwards. The next one is called Upram. If it opens up, there we go, Upram. That's to have peace from the Panj Jor. And what that means is, to have peace from the Panj Jor is, in our past experience, I'm sure everybody here, again, we're all in the same here, so I'm not saying, I'm just giving us, the reason I say everybody here is because I want you to, whenever I use that phrase, I want you to look at your own lives, because if we don't look at our own lives, we're never going to move. We've got to reflect always on ourselves. I'm doing the same at the same time as I'm saying this to you. You know, I'm doing the same when I'm researching this to give this, because there's no point me living in this world if I'm just doing this to tell you guys, if I'm not taking note of this myself. Okay, so having peace is like this. If in our mind in the past we have done immoral activity which we know is immoral, whatever type of immoral activity, it's happened. We cannot never change that, can we? Can you change the past? Never. If we keep focusing on that and bringing that into our mind and getting worry over that, can it change us? No. Can we go back and change that? No. So we are not upram because we're still indulging that, or we get excited. If we did something that was, somebody said to me, "Tu pehla aa karda hunda si." You used to enjoy it then. Hun kado nahi karda? Why don't you do it now? And I might think back and go, yeah, I used to get excited by that. I'm not at peace because actually I've rejected, I don't live like that anymore. I've rejected that. So why should I get excited by it now? I might have got excited then, which is fair enough, that's what I was like. If I'm getting excited about it now, then I'm not at peace with it. My mind is still kitching me over there. Sorry, Pai Sahab, tusi pehla bhi hath khada kita si.
Shouldn't we be actually having the bad deeds that we have, or the sins that we have done in the past life, always keep them remembered so we stay humble and don't have that ego in ourselves, and we should actually forgive the good deeds that we have done and have the bad deeds always up in front so we know that these are our mistakes.
That is it. Yeah. So what I mean here is, don't dwell on them.
Oh yeah.
Be ਉਹਨੂੰ ਹੀ ਰੱਖਣਾ ਯਾਦ, ਵੀ if I ਕੋਈ ਚੰਗਾ ਕੀਤਾ, yeah, look how great I used to be. ਉਹਨੂੰ ਹੀ ਵਾਰ-ਵਾਰ ਚੇਤੇ ਕਰੀ ਜਾਣਾ. That's what I mean. So yes, there's a tactic that we reflect is good, but not to dwell on those, because dwelling on those, khas karke when we focus on naam, then it's going to pull us back. Okay. The last one is called tatikya. Tatikya is having balance in good or bad. So linking to what Pai Sahab just said, I think is the right time to mention this, because balancing good or bad is like this. If I've done bad, okay, I shouldn't get too sad or depressed about it. If I've done good, I shouldn't get too excited by it. If somebody dies, I shouldn't start crying and wailing. And a baby is born, I shouldn't get so excited. Let's do all of this. Why? We should stay balanced, neutral mindset. Not get too excited, not get too saddened. Have a neutral, because these things, having good or bad, will make us dwell. And all of this we'll dwell on our past. So I will get so excited that my past I used to change kaam kite hai. That's ego, that's going to hold me back. Instead of going one step forward, I've jumped into the stream, I'm flowing back again. I want to remain outside of the stream. Now back to those questions that we were saying, Guruji and Rayat, and you might, if I don't answer it properly, come back to me again, because my mind has moved on as well, and I might not specifically answer what you guys wanted. These are difficult things to do. I would suggest, so when we're doing Naam, when we focus, I would suggest that we spend every day, because this is very hard, control the thoughts of your mind. That's not easy to do. That's not easy for anybody to do. Okay? Why is Guruji giving us, I now remember, Mahapurushas, people who are one with God, and our discipline, how we're going to do that. We have been given a discipline to help us do this. Now, I know Penji does yoga, because you've mentioned that. Now, in the old days, Guruji rejected certain practices of yoga if you're only going to use yoga to find God and forget about the Shabad. Okay? And they rejected any other karam kand, any other practice that is not on the Shabad to get you to God. Okay, they rejected that. They rejected it because they're saying you will not get to God that quick. It's going to take you forever. You might develop spiritually, because some practices help us control our mind. But if we don't have that shabad to piggyback onto, we're going to hang around this area. We're not going to move forward enough. Now, somebody said to me, or we were talking in the last group, that red, keeping this, doing those things is willpower. We're showing our mind that you're not in charge. We're showing our man, you are not in charge. In charge is our guru. And my guru's told me this. So, my buddhi, I'm not using anymore. This is what Mahapurushas do. They're not using their own buddhi anymore. We live our life, and we are informed by our guru. My buddhi, as I walk out that door, I've got to make a decision. Am I going to go left or right? If I go left, which is not that way, it's that way. Left is that way, so left or right. If I'm going to go left, there might be a pub on the corner there. If I go right, there might be a gurdwara. I'm going to be informed by my guru to tell me what is right and wrong. And their information is going to tell me to turn right. So I'm still using my own buddhi. So that's what Mahapurushas do. But they're informed by Akal Purkh Waheguru. Because Waheguru tells them, or tells us all, do this, don't do that. If they tell me to wear kirpan and don't hang it up, they tell me how I have to live my daily life, it is giving me power to control the thoughts of my mind. It is developing my shraddha to have complete faith in my guru. So I'm already starting to develop these things, these supports that are going to help me. That's why we do those. I'm not saying that's the only reason why we have to wear the kirpan all the time, but that is one aspect of why we do those things that Guruji tells us in the red. Now those other faiths that I talked about, Narakatariye and different ways that they think just naam, they don't give you a discipline as such. They say, Chonkra maro naam japo. They will not have that protection as they go along, because what that red does, if Maya is like a jungle, the red, and we have to clear the jungle, so we just have a clean greenery, yeah? We have to chop all the trees down of the entanglements of the world. What the red and the discipline does, it chops all the trees down for us. If all the trees are chopped down, all we have to do is pick them up and remove them, don't we? Yep. The red will chop the trees down, and when we're doing these, all we're doing is picking up the trees. How easy is to pick up the trees? If we don't have our Guru's discipline, our Guru's teachings, then not only are we doing that in meditation from whatever, some Pakhandi has given us some naam, who's going to chop the trees for us? Are we going to find our way out? We might be reciting a name, we're not going to find our way out of the jungle. Guruji removes the trees for us, removes all obstacles, so our path is easier. That's the difference. That's why we have to keep that red. That's why we have to take Amrit, because then we get that protection. Then we get all that stuff that is going to be done for us. Okay? The fourth thing is Mok Icha. We've got about 20 minutes left, 15-20 minutes in between there, and then I'm not got long left now, and I'm going to pause in about 5 or 10 minutes, and then we'll have the last 5-10 minutes for discussion if we want. We've had some questions if there's any more. The last one is called Mok Icha. Now Mok is mukti, but the type of mukti we should be desiring is complete liberation. Complete liberation is called Keval Mukti, and that is becoming one with Vaheguru, becoming one with Vaheguru. Now Gurbani also talks about other types of muktiyan, other types of liberation, and it rejects them. Raj na chaho, mukt na chaho, man preet charan kamalare. So you might question, Sukhraj Singh says that this is good. But Gurbani is saying we shouldn't ask for mukti. This type of mukti, it's called Keval Mukti, but it's complete liberation, one with God. We are wanting to become one with God. Okay? Those muktiyan that Gurbani rejects are these. And other faiths believe in them. So like we have hells and we have heavens, paradises. Those are the muktiyan like that. So there's 4 other types of muktiyan, 4 other types of liberation. One is called Salok, the next one is called Sameep, the third one is called Saroop, and the fourth one is called Sajuj. Salok is like a world. So imagine this earth. So we got this earth, that's like a paradise. Let's say this is paradise, this world. Okay? So your liberation is coming to that paradise, coming to that world. So you've got Saloka Mukti. It's temporary. Just like you spend a bit of time there, then you're back into Rasi Lakajun again. That's why we reject it, because we know it's only wasting our time to get through the cycle, because we can't do anything while we're in that paradise or in heaven, and we still have to come in the Rasi Lakajun. So that's why we reject it. That's why Sikhi rejects that idea or that target. That's called Salok Mukti. Sameep means to be close. Sameep means to be close and close. So if you think of this world as paradise, those other faiths also believe that maybe God resides there, God's form is there. God's not going to be all over that paradise, all over the world. They're going to be in one place. Okay? So Sameep is you get close to them. So you might go to the same city or their court. You get to live in their court. Okay? So you won't be the other side of the world. Let's say if God was here in Wales, we're in Wales now, so we're Sameep, we're close to them. If you're in Australia, you're the other side of the world. So you're still in that on the earth, but you're completely far away. So that's the difference. So it's better to be Sameep. So that's their next type of liberation. They call it Sameep. The next one after that is Sarup. Sarup is to have the same form. So like Brahma, Vishnu, Shivaji, Gurbani says there's countless numbers of Brahmas and countless numbers of Shivajis and Vishnus. Because people have got those liberations, have taken those forms. That's why they become countless. And at the same time, the final one for them is called Sajuj. Sajuj means you get all their power. That's why you have millions of Brahmas and millions of words being created, destroyed, and all those kind of things. Okay? We don't want them and we don't need them anyway because we've already got them muktiyan. We've already been blessed with those. We've already been blessed with those liberations. That's why we reject them. Because we want Keval Mukti, which is complete oneness with Vaheguru. And how we've got those already, Salok, we've been born as humans, so we're already on the world where God resides. God, Vaho Vaho Bani Nirankar hai. Sri Guru Granth Sahib Ji is the form of God. We're already on the world with God. Why do we need to find a paradise with God? We've already got that paradise. So we've already ticked that first one off. Next one, Sameep. We've even got that paradise. Why? Because every single one of us sitting here get to do Guru Granth Sahib Ji's darshan. Whether we do it in our hometowns, we're definitely doing it here, aren't we? So we already got that one. We're in their court automatically. Apa Sikh ban gaye hain. Whether we're Sikh through family or whether we're Sikh, we come from somewhere else and we've managed to get to become a Sikh, we're already there. So we already got that one. So why do we need it again? The third one was Sarup. We already been given the form. Khalsa mero roop hai khas, Guru Gobind Singh ni deta abda roop. So we've already got that as well. If we want it, we can get the third one. And the fourth one, Shakti vi deti hai. They've all given their power because Sawa Lakh se ek laraun tabe Gobind Singh naam ka. They've given all their power to the Khalsa. Tahi Baba Deep Singh lad sakde si, Bhai Mani Singh Shidi pa sakde si, because they've given everything already. So why do we need it when we've already got it? Why do we need to die and get that? Sanu te ithe mil gaya. So the only liberation we should be yearning for is to have that oneness with Vaheguru, who is only one, by developing complete love, and then these treasures will help us on our path of spirituality. Now, are there any questions there? Are there any questions at that point? No? So all I can say is suggest to you guys is, if you don't already partake in meditation of Naam, is to try it out. Now, it's very hard to control the thoughts of your mind, so I would suggest, some of the other groups were exploring and discussing that, I would suggest that you spend small time a day, because it's very hard to sit for 2-3 hours, okay, and fully concentrate, because mind thoughts are going to keep coming. All I would suggest to you is this: go home, take 6 minutes, okay, use your iPhones, they've got good timers on there, the alarm goes off after your countdown timer, put one of those on, okay, 6 minutes. I say 6 minutes because Gurbani suggests 6 minutes is a good way of doing Sangat with Vaheguru, and it'll help you get into a routine. If you can't do 6 minutes, try 1 minute, 30 seconds, whatever is small target which is achievable. Okay? Because if you try to say hour and you can't do an hour, then it's never going to happen anyway. So do a small. Find a time when you can find peace and quiet in your homes or at the Gurdwara. Okay? Peace and quiet. Okay? Evening. Amrita Vela is the best, but it could be evening, whenever. Sit yourself down, close your eyes. Okay? When you close your eyes, you start repeating the name of the Lord, Vaheguru. Now, some of us might repeat it openly, some of us might have already moved on in their meditation and taken the Simran and be thoughtful and focusing within. But when we focus within, remember, have the mindset that there is only one Vaheguru, and your complete love is with that Vaheguru, and you have complete Shraddha for that Vaheguru, because they are going to take you on the sound. Their sound of Naam is going to take you to become one with them. When anything comes into our minds, let it come in. Now this could be hard, because depending on what we are, people who work in the business world and they've been on certain courses, or depending if you have or not, you know there's different courses, and you have reflective people and you have hands-on people, you have different. So people who are reflective think a lot anyway, and they'll ponder a lot anyway. So it might be harder for you guys, okay? But you give it a go. When a thought comes into your mind, do not ponder. Try not to ponder on it. Okay, let it come and then release it and just move along. Just cut it off. Okay, you cut it off. During the day, hold yourself from committing any immoral activity. Have peace from the panch jor when you're concentrating. Don't get angry if in the first time you ever do this, even if you did it like the 10th time you ever did it, you feel you haven't made no improvements and things keep coming. Don't get angry, because remember, one of those is to have balance. And if we keep getting angry or saddened or depressed, then we're not having balance, so we can't have fighting against what we're doing. And the key here is samadhan. Have deep focus in the Shabad. So if you're saying Waheguru, focus completely on that Shabad, on Waheguru. When you completely focus on Waheguru, you will travel along the path. Have a go at it. Your meditation might start working. Now, some people use other avenues, and we talked about those to help focus. Ultimately, we want to find Waheguru within. We want to find stillness. Okay? So doing other activities to support that is good, but have a go at doing that, and then always have that thought, Maharaj, I want to become one with you. Okay? And finally, like I said, there are 7 stages, 7 steps, Bhumika they call them, Gurbani talks about them, of the spiritual steps to become one with God. Santaka marg dharma ki paudi ko vad bhagi paye. The marg, the path of a true saint, is the paudiyaan of dharam, of faith. There are 7 steps. If you research Gurbani and you find them, and these are those spiritual stages. So we haven't got long now, we've got 10 minutes. So I'm just going to show them and pick up 1 or 2 points. You're going to get these slides anyway, and then we'll have a few minutes for any questions. Okay, first one's called Shubh Ichha, is to want to walk on the path and to give up the panch jor, to do those things that we were talking about in the last slide. And then develop Shubh Vicharna, basically means have that reflection. What's the meaning of life? Do I really want to become one with God? Or am I just passing my time here? If I really want to become one with God, I need to action. Let's action. Even if you are, like I said, small targets to develop as you go through. The third one is called Tanumansa. Your mind's desires will start decreasing because you're in deep focus. You'll be able to focus on them even better. Satapat, your true realization that this world is false. Okay? You become awake to that. Asang Sakat, your ego starts to decrease. You overcome that and your more attachment. We realize the world is like a dream. Just like when I dream, if I like the dream, I always try to go back to sleep when my eyes open and think, I really want to stay in this longer, you know. But we got to realize this is just a dream. One day this is going to finish. We can't come back here. Just like we can't go back to yesterday. That's gone. That stream's gone. Why ponder over it? It's gone. You can't do nothing. We got to learn, and that willpower is this red. That's how we're going to get the willpower to do that. Because I'm telling my mind, you're not in control. I'm doing what my guru tells me. My buddhi is not my buddhi. Obviously, I have to make the decision. I'm the one who's going to do something, but I'm going to be informed by my guru's buddhi, by my guru's teachings. I'm not going to say my ego. It's going to be Guruji, what Guruji tells me. I'm not going to look at my memory or my past experience. I'm going to be so absorbed in Guruji's itihas and our forefathers that I'm going to use their history to inform my decisions. So when I get a difficult point in my life, might have read up or researched my history as a Sikh and seen what the Gurus and the Guru Sikhs went through, and I will use that to inform and become my new memory. Not my experience, my Guru's experience.
Is that what they say that the home and the medicine are both in the same place?
Absolutely. The home and the medicine are both in the same place, because if we become selfish enough to realize that our selfishness is the disease, and we spend time on ourselves and find it in our in that place, we'll be able to cure our own ego. Okay, so we find it from within, and the jyot is there after that point anyway. Okay, so we realize it's a dream. The next day is padartha pavani. When you go in a deep sleep, we forget about everything in a deep sleep, don't we? We don't remember our friends, our relatives. When we're in a deep sleep, gudi neend jinu kehde hai, we don't remember anything, do we? We don't remember work. We don't remember anything. What if somebody does something then? What are we going to do? Can we stop them? Can we do anything at that point? No, we can't. As they say, we're completely knocked out, you know. Nothing can happen. That is the state a Guru Sikh gets to, where they realize everything is just temporary, and they know there's no point wasting time affecting it. And then the final stage is called Turiyapad. It's called Chautha Pad, Gurbani calls that, Gurbani uses the word Chautha Pad, fourth state, fourth place, when we're completely free from Maya, Avidya, that's past that Karan there, we find our Jot, we become one with Vaheguru, and in our three states of mind, awake state, Jagat, Supan is the dream state, Sukhopat is deep sleep, we have one with Vaheguru in all our states of mind, we completely one with Vaheguru, and that is how they're the spiritual stages that we have to get through. As a Sikh, we repeat the name, but if you think that you can just repeat the name and get there, it's not going to work. You have to follow your Guru's teaching, because you need a Pura Guru to be able to access this sound current that will get us to the end. When you see the slides, it'll be this Shabad. I like this Shabad. It's at the end of Japji Sahib, and it's got some do's and don'ts in there, and I've put the sort of what each word means, like linking to the numbers, so you can kind of work out the translation for it. You reflect on that in your own time. When you see that Shabad on its own can tell us how to live our lives and become one with Vaheguru. Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji.